even in a short while, not their personal life, even in a short while, just to share their journey in business. Most of the time, it is the things they have experienced. Like a man of God told me the other day that if you hear someone who has gone through experiences something, it means a lot, a lot. It may not apply to you that time, but it means a lot. So as he speaks about his time, we'll give him like 10 minutes. He will just tell us the businesses he has gone through, why he chose those businesses. Then I will be there to ask questions, but then you will have an opportunity to ask him as the program comes to an end. Are we good to go? Welcome, Abel.
Thank you. Don't know whether everybody knows me. My name is Abel Marite. Marite is my father. I was born just as independence came to Kenya, and I've been around for a while now, and I thank for his kindness. Now, I went through, of course, I come from a background where my grandparents are what you'd call traditional people. The little traditional people in the culture I come from. If I knew you should have asked me that question, I would have brought to you the photos of my grandparents and how they dressed. In fact, between me and them is my father, and my father went to school. Fortunately, one of my grandfathers somehow managed to have my father go to school, and so I went to school, and have come through school up to where I am. The question that I'm asked this morning is business. Yes. So I want to go down to that. Lily, you know, the definition of business is a big question, because when you talk about business, it means a lot of things, because business is a concept. But the main issue here is, when did what I think what she's asking me, that's what I'm trying just to get it into context. I think what she's asking me is, when did I think of, or how, or what did I think or do that made me enter into entrepreneurship? And one thing I must say is that I really originally did not think about these things. My father was a good business person in a way, because initially when I was a small child, my father owned pigs, and he used to keep pigs and to sell pigs. We also had a big coffee farm, and we used to work very hard, sometimes selling coffee at midnight. And I noted how my school fees was paid. It was paid in a difficult way sometimes. My grandfather, my favorite grandfather, was a tobacco seller. Some of my school fees is paid by tobacco. In fact, the first Bible and the New Testament the John Gospel, was bought by my grandfather. So I decided one time to also do something, but I didn't know how much that meant. So when I went through college and I was a teacher, I decided to start the first business. I started a bookshop. I didn't know how to start or how not to start, but I started. And somehow I moved on with it until I could no longer learn it. In fact, it ran me, and it was almost wearing me down. That was after I had initially started by having a donkey cart that I had given somebody to do business with, and giving me 100 bob at the end of the day. So that the donkey business flopped. The bookshop also, Lily. I don't want to use the word flopped, Lily, because...
What, if I may ask, what used to make you pick the business you invest into? Why donkey and not something else? Why the business for bookshop instead of...
Why I went to the donkey is because I didn't have any money. I couldn't afford anything. So I did anything that I could afford. Even for the bookshop, it was as I was a teacher. And I noted I can sell books to my fellow teachers. That's what brought me there. So the first one, particularly, I should emphasize, the initial business was a result of not knowing how to start and what to start, and even not having what to start with. So I started. I repeat, because that's one thing I realized really worked good for me, that I didn't know what to do, but I needed to get some more income than what I had. I didn't have the what people call capital. I didn't even know about capital, so it did not, that one was not an issue. Now the issue is I wanted to do something. So I looked at the very little something that I could start at. And because somehow donkeys in this were very many, they were cheap. It was cheap, so I could afford a donkey. Then I had to use my salary for almost say 2 months to make a donkey cart. To show you how difficult it was. It was not it looks. It is something that I had to invest on. So the main thing here I would put it is why I started that business is because I didn't know and I didn't have any way to start a business. So I started a business. Simple because of one thing. I needed to have an income and I had purposed. So the purpose of having to grow what I was earning is what drove me to that, and I did it. The same case with the bookshop. In reality, let me tell you how I started the bookshop. Bookshop was also interesting. Because I also didn't have what people call capital. My mind never had those things. I've had it with people as I grew up. My mind never thought about capital. Things like capital did not come up to me. Nobody had really put those negative things that you needed capital to start a business. I only knew you needed to start a business. So what I did, when I realized I can afford a rent for a place, I went and talked to a man who was building some building, and he allowed me, he accepted to get rent without deposit. Then I went to a bookshop here in town. There was a lady who had a very big bookshop, and I told her what I wanted, and I told her to give me some books. And she gave me many books, a number of them, and I went and placed them in the bookshop. Now, the little money I had, I bought books that I knew would be bought in a school that I had some influence in. So I knew they needed books, so I put what I could do. And that's how I started the two businesses. And I think you allow me to emphasize one thing that I never thought about it. It has just cropped into me strong. That really my first two businesses, I started them as businesses. People go for business plans. Nowadays I've been told that. You have to draw a business plan. You have to look for a lot for money for capital. My brain never went that direction. It went on the direction of start and do. And it happened. Yes.
Yeah. So you're in your second business. How many businesses have you had so far, if you can give a figure?
Wow. From that moment, of course, after that, I came up, and I am a person who is intrigued by buildings, coming now to major ones, because if I asked how many, I've done so many. In fact, the second business was a cow.
That's the third.
The third business was a cow. I bought a daily cow, and Lily, again, not buying. I couldn't afford a cow, but I had a small plot somewhere in Vingido. And I was planning to build some house there, and I had fenced it. So a friend of mine had a number of cows, and they were getting into trouble, him feeding them. So I noted that he has problem. So I asked him, this cow, since the cows are not helping you, can I keep some for you? So he gave me three of them. And so when he gave me the 3 cows, I started feeding the cows. My intention was to have milk for my cows. To me, that was a business, in that I had now to buy milk from me. The second point was to sell some milk. So I got the cows. And that's a big story, because that time I was a high school teacher. In fact, I was a deputy principal. And I've never forgotten, because this place used to be dry, I used to go to the marketplace every weekend with a sack, correcting a lot of things that the cow would eat, and bring them into the compound and have the cow do it. And finally, I had enough milk and was selling some. That was the second. The third, and to just now finish on that, because it's the main one now. The third business when I came, no, it was in fact, was it the third or the fourth? The third business was a computer school. That time, computers were not as they are now. Anybody who trained for those small packages like Word or Excel used to pay 5,000 for one. One package used to cost about five. It was a big thing. So in a place where now I had planned to start a major business, I put a place aside, put some tables. In fact, I always see one of those tables somewhere here. It always encourages me. And I put in some tables and advertised. I got a young man who would teach. And then what he knew is what he taught. And that became a business. But now that one was inside the office where I want to start a property management business. And so when I came into property, it was, you don't have, let me put it like this. You normally don't see where you are going until you get there. That's something I realized. I didn't know where I was going. Really, because you see when you are somewhere, people may think you knew where you are going. I didn't know. You can see the journey, how I have come all through. So what happened is that I released up an office. In fact, I borrowed another, seems it's interesting. I borrowed a table. In fact, I was given a table by somebody and a chair. I got a chair from my house. In fact, my wife's chair, she had bought it when she was a girl. So I took her chair. It is one of the chairs I used in the office where I sat. And then I advertised I'm managing property. It's the first property I started managing. And then that business started glowing, and it grew, and gave birth to other businesses until where I am now.
All right. You've done a lot of investment and a lot of entrepreneurship. If I would ask, what is the, how do I put it? What is the one thing that you think before, now that you're where you are, what is the most important thing one would look into before investing? Now knowing all that you know.
I may answer that question in a strange way. I don't know how it's going to be understood, but this is my heart. What somebody should know is that they ought to do something in this life and do it, nothing else. When you are doing it, even what I've discovered, I normally teach now that you have to learn those things. You don't start by learning unless you have already known it. You start by having a desire in you to do something. And the desire comes, just do it.
Just do it.
Just do it.
Look, by all means, if borrowing is it, borrow, do it.
It depends. Yeah, but borrowing here, the word borrowing becomes a little bit tricky. Because if you look at all the things I've said, I borrowed nothing, Lily, that I was to pay back.
Okay.
In all the businesses I did. I need to mention that. But if you have to take, if you are to borrow my share and to get and to pick something from your house, to go out there and start that business, just get out there and start.
All right. You have not done any business course before you entered into business.
Certainly not.
Now, have you taken any business course? And if you were to take any, which one would it be?
Oh. From the moment now I went to business, I realized you cannot, when now you start, that's what's very important. Now, the part where you need a lot of knowledge is growth, not start. Immediately now that I had started, I had to grow. And like, for example, when it came to real estate, I have attended hundreds of home explores. I have attended hundreds of courses. I have read, in fact, almost going to 1 million. I've read millions of literature, articles and literature. I have interacted with people of caliber who understand the industry. I have, even today, even yesterday and the day, I've been gotten involved into now learning. Because now you have to know, now that you have started, you have to know where you are going and how you are going there. So I have done a lot of courses, not what you would call academics. I avoided, I'm not able to do that, Lily. I avoided going back to class to study because to me, I realized it's going to condense me to a particular line. And I'm the kind of people who are a little bit, my brain, my heart loves open clouds. I am an open cloud person. My name suggests the same, if you know my real name. it suggests looking out, being open. So that's it. So I needed to really learn anything that comes my way. Even now, I love learning something that comes my way. So I didn't go to a specific course like this, but I've done so much.
Yeah. Yeah.
Today, I would not even pick a business course.
Mm.
I would pick a course on psychology and emotional maturity.
Interesting. Why is that?
Simple. Love you. Direct. So what do you need? First, emotional intelligence. I would stand after understanding it, knowing how to handle it, going after it, you get scared and you react. You lose awe. Do you know Desi?
Yeah. The legend.
Do you remember Desi? Desi people. A big man, a great quick. And I can assure you, the first one I got it quick. But shortly, I lost everything like any fool like me who did it. Because it was foolishness of not understanding that made me do it. So that is it.
Yeah.
That was the most foolish investment. So that's how it is. That's it. And in fact, it is among also those ones who hear people saying, what they call, sell it to so and so, sell it to your neighbor, let your neighbor sell it to whoever. If your neighbor sell it to the neighbor sells to the neighbor, and the neighbor sells to the neighbor, you get profit from the neighbor who sold from the neighbor, and the neighbor who sold to the neighbor, you will profit from all of them. So,
and unexpectedly just worked for you.
whoa. Very intelligent when we, not that we are fools, by the way we are intelligent. Thank you, the way you think is right. But some people think that you are intelligent in a special way. You know, people think that you are a genius when they see you do some things. Let me tell you this, what I discovered. It is not something that you know how it will work. You invest, for example, in a property and interference.